Welcome to PhotoshopUser TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hi everyone, welcome to PhotoshopUser TV. We are at episode 302.
That's right.
Second episode of the season. Welcome back. If you were just watching a moment ago, we were live with the first episode. If you're watching us live right now, we're back. We just transported into the future for the next episode. That's right.
Just whoosh.
And Matt disappeared and is replaced by our very own RC Concepcion.
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? It's good to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, been a while.
It's been 6 weeks, and I mean, obviously, we've been very, very busy throughout the entire time. But it's good to be back in the chair.
It's been a lot, quite a bit going on. Good grief, it's been crazy, and of course, over in the weather station once again,
hanging out over here.
Mr. Pete Collins.
Hey guys, how's it going? Good to be here.
I love that shot. I know what you're gonna do with it.
You know what you're gonna do.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not gonna say anything.
What is coming?
I'm not gonna say anything. But anyway, we're brought to you guys by Photoshop User Magazine and the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. This is the group that does all of this stuff. So what we do is we bring you Photoshop training, right? So now you're probably watching this live. If you're watching this, if you're not watching this, make sure you go take a look at kelbytv.com/on-air. Every couple of weeks, we're going to be airing these live episodes. If you guys are watching live, then you're probably letting us know through chats and through Google Plus and all of that kind of stuff.
You're really catching a sneak peek right now.
Right, yeah, you're catching what's going to happen in the future. So we won't tell you lottery numbers, but we will give you some really, really good Photoshop training. Now,
hopefully.
On that note, you've got something on 3Ds and vectors.
Well, kind of. It's more like pictures and actually, I want to talk about postcards because this is something.
Okay.
I kind of switched gears here before we started the show because I had a thing and then I was going like, you know what, this is way cooler because this is something I've gotten a lot of questions on, and you'll be amazed at how quickly and easily it is to do in CS6 now with 3D, and it's basically taking a photo and making it look as though it's sitting on a surface with a reflection. And, you know, this is very popular with Apple. If you go to iTunes and such, you know, like they'll have album art and everything like that. It's got a picture and it's got a reflection and everything like that. And you'll be amazed just at how easy it is. So here I've got an image, and let's go ahead and make a duplicate layer. And I'm going to fill that background layer with black. So we've just got the image sitting on top of a background black layer. With the image selected, I'm going to go under 3D and go to New Mesh from Layer. Some people might have used the 3D postcards quite a bit in CS5, probably wondering where they are in CS6. They just kind of relocated it. It's under the 3D menu still, but now it's New Mesh from 3D Layer, and then you have postcard. So go ahead and select that. It puts the image in a 3D space. Again, if you're not familiar with a 3D postcard, it's putting it in a 3D space, but it's still a flat two-dimensional image. If I go over here and just kind of rotate it around, you can see there it is, and it's all flat in that 3D space. If I turn my background off, you can see it is sitting on the ground plane and looks pretty good. So let's just take that and push it back in 3D space here. And I'm going to reactivate that background layer. So now it's in 3D, it's slightly tilted. Now, in CS5, if I wanted to make this image have a reflection, I would have had to create another 3D postcard, then merge these two together, and then rotate them and do all these things. It really was a pain in the butt to really make it work for something as simple as a 3D reflection. But all you have to do now, with it in 3D, I'm going to go into my 3D panel and just select Environment. And this is where you can modify the environmental properties of your 3D layer. In the Properties panel, I can see that I can change things like the global ambient light. I can do an image-based light, which is the IBL right here. What I'm looking for is actually down here in the ground plane properties. Now, previously in CS5, you could only do a shadow on a ground plane, and that would have to be rendered when you did that. Now, you can actually apply a reflection property to a ground plane. So if you go down here, you can see that there is an opacity setting for the ground plane. It is default set to 0 every time. So I'm going to go over here and then highlight that and set it to 50. And you can see the reflection is alive. I can actually see it. And if I go over here and move my view around, you can see the reflection moves with it. Again, in previous version, CS5, this would have been a rendered effect. You wouldn't see the reflection until you did a render, so you wouldn't be able to move it around like this. And once you did, it went away, then you'd have to re-render it. But you can see I can get it in position wherever I want it to be, and let's just push it back. And if I unselect the layer, look how quickly and easily I've got a simple reflection on a 2D image. And this is, again, like I said, it's an effect you've seen over and over again, but you had to go through ridiculous amount of steps to make it happen. I just did it in just a few steps using CS6 3D. And again, I can modify it, I can change the angle without having to go and redo it and re-render and stuff like that.
Did you just catch me playing around?
He's over
you
here.
Did catch me
You're
playing
goofing
around.
with 3D, aren't
No,
you?
but you know what? Like I was goofing with 3D because I think that it's something that's really, really cool. Like Matt turned around, and Matt and I have a very, very opposing viewpoint when it comes to the entire concept of 3D. There's photographers that out there that turn around and say, you shouldn't get 3D, you shouldn't get 3D, you shouldn't get 3D. And I'm like, I think you should. I think that there's tons of different things that you can do with it, from a graphic design, from a photography standpoint. So it's one of those things where I'm like,
well, even with
it's an exciting
even with just
time
the lighting,
to play with it.
I mean, photographers can play with the 3D lighting effects and just achieve some very simple effects with that. So I mean, there's different avenues to approach it.
It's not hard. It's just involved, and that's been like my entire mantra when I've been watching all of this stuff. I'm like, it's not hard. It's involved. It's not hard. It's involved. Like what he was saying. I'll show you what I'm doing just because it was dumb. But I'm right here on this computer screen, right? And I had this picture of this. Basically, it's a picture of the Photoshop screen, and I was using it for. I was using this for this section here for the Kelby training thing because we launched a whole bunch of classes on CS6 stuff. So I wanted to kind of spruce up the graphics that we had here. So I took a picture of your thing, and then I put, a little marker for CS6. So I had that up, and I'm like, oh, you know what? One of the things that I was missing was the entire hat thing. And I'm like, well, if you go to 3D, you go to the mesh from layer, and then that's where you were, right? You were just kind of playing around there. And I'm like, hey, where did donut go?
Donut.
And then I'm like, oh, mesh preset. And then here, I found hat. And it's like, there you go. So now you've made a hat from all of this stuff. And it's like, all right, well, why would you care about that hat? And I'm like, could you imagine having to do something like this as a graphic design element? To have to track and put patterns and stuff. Like if you leverage some of the stuff that you've done creating textures and patterns, and you leverage some of the stuff that you've done on 3D, and then you leverage some of the stuff that you've done from a photography standpoint, you can incorporate all of this stuff and you can do it like this. It's fast. So it's one of those things that I think that everybody needs to turn around and take a look at. Creative Cloud memberships, you have to take a look at it, extend it. It's all about diversification, and you can make this stuff very, very quickly. But anyway, I get really excited about it. I think it's really cool.
Well, the whole point, and that's the good point you make, is that even you guys, like you and Matt, that were just like, I don't even want to mess with it. You're seeing how easy it is, and that hurdle of learning it and playing with it is not as it's not as bad as it
exactly.
was.
It's just you just kind of gotta fall into the rabbit hole for just a little bit. And I can't think of a better person to be able to fall into that rabbit hole with than Corey Barker. You've done a great job at most of this kind of stuff.
Thank you.
But let's get into this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a bunch of tutorials. I've got a quick trick for you to do something inside of Photoshop. Pete's got some stuff over there. I know what he's gonna cover, but I'm not gonna tell you until you come back. I'll see you guys in a bit.
All right.
I'm Mike Cabasi. Come watch my new video on Kelby Training. I'm going to teach you how to do the old Hollywood 30s and 40s newer style lighting, the portraits, the stuff with the hard lights, the shadows. I'm going to teach you how to interact with the model, how to pose her. We're going to talk about an apple box. I'm going to teach you about grabology, a C-stand. What is it? What's the difference between a glamour shot and a Hollywood headshot? We're going to use lighting. We're going to use diffusion. Make the light turn, create separation, give it a 3D look. So check out my class on kelbytraining.com.
Welcome back, everybody.
That was good.
Right?
That was good. If
Right?
only you just saw, he literally 10 seconds ago was out of the room.
I was like, ladies and gentlemen,
I have never
Jesse Owens.
I've never seen you move that fast, I gotta say. That was cool.
I thought it was great. Well, because I had an idea. I'm sitting there and I was like, all right, let me go ahead and try this. But then I'm like, I need some extra stuff. So I had to run around. Pete, how are you doing today?
I'm good. You a little out of breath after that?
Well, it took a little bit of a run. But anyway, so what are we going to do now? We've got a, actually, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and just go?
Sure.
I'll go ahead and do that.
Sounds great.
I'm going to come over here. I'm going to open up this thumbnail thing because I was thinking about this, right, when I was running.
Since you made all that running, yes, by all means, please share with us.
Well, because this is the part that I thought was cool, right? This was the graphic that we used on the Kelby Training thing, right? So if you go to the Kelby Training website, you take a look right here. Oh, not on my email. We'll go over here. These are the graphics, right? So it's actual production stuff. right? And I said, all right, well, how cool is this? We have a quick tip. So I'll open up this graphic here, the CS6 graphic. I'm gonna go back over here to my hat, right? So I'll go to 3D, mesh from 3D layer, preset. I'm gonna go to the hat. Fine, hat's dumb. We'll go ahead and we'll put it over here and we'll rotate it out, right? But now, the tip that I was gonna talk about was this, file scripts. A lot of the times people are like, well, if I have a whole bunch of files inside of Photoshop, how do I load all of those files into Photoshop, align them, organize them, and put them into one spot? And I'm like, dude, that's like a 2-second job. If you go in the file, you go into scripts, there's this thing called load files into stack.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't say take a whole bunch of files inside of Photoshop and put them together in one spot. So it's kind of hard for you to be able to find it. And that was the tip that I wanted to have. So in here, you can go into a section where you can just have a whole bunch of files. You click on Browse, and you can find whatever files you want to work with, automatically grab them. And here you have the option to align them, and you can turn them into a smart object. So you click on this. It automatically takes all of those files. And in the process of all of that, we're going to go ahead and just go over here to the window menu. I'll go to Layers. See, it puts everything right there.
Layers.
And it puts them into that same spot where we were working. So now, watch this. I'm going to grab the icon. I'm going to bring it all the way to the very, very top. There's our graphic of our hat. We can take our hat. We can move our hat over here. Right? So once we have it set, we've got to move it right there. Now, once I've got that done, right, obviously that doesn't make sense there. But we could put it here, right? We can put it here.
You can put it anywhere.
And you can put it anywhere you want. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, could I take this further? Could I take this further? All right, well, what if I put this right here? All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and put it right there. So now, instead of it having a hat logo, instead of having a CS6 logo, I have a hat. However, if I wanted to, at any point in time, I could always go back into this and create a new one. Like I just made this regular, right? I took one graphic and I turned it into a hat, right? But technically, I could come back over here, grab this CS6 logo, put the CS6 logo dead center, right? So right click, there's the logo, grab that, put that right inside of here, make sure that's a little bit bigger, and then take that. We'll merge that down just to be on the safe side.
I think you should wrap that one in a donut.
I'll wrap it into a donut. No, I'm gonna stick with the hat.
Stick with the hat.
So
The
now
donut is
inside of
cool.
here, it says CS6, right? So this could be your logo, this could be your design. This doesn't have to be a screen grab. This could be a texture. So there's tons of different things. And now you can drag all of that stuff and put all of that stuff as some sort of logo design or some sort of object. Like what if you had a little can and it just said, you know, free CS6 knowledge, open up inside.
Yeah.
And you made a logo. So it's kind of thinking outside the box. And I think that that's one of the things that the releases of CS6 as a release, that's the part that I was really excited about because I was like, I could do that. I can do that. I'm going to work on this.
Another cool thing is just like a static texture, you can wrap a movie file around a 3D object.
Yeah.
And it will play around there. So
Yeah, I mean, look, then that gets you into what you can do in video, and it expands.
yeah.
So that's the part that, if you see me kind of running around going, the possibilities are endless, that's because they are. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about with this entire thing with CS6. It's like, you can start connecting all these dots that you wouldn't have connected before, and you're like, this is really, really cool.
Well, it's like I've kept saying about 3D and CS6 is I'm that much more brave to try something new than I would have been in CS5 because I kind of knew where the limits were with CS5. I knew how far I could go.
Yep.
And those barriers have really just been shattered now with CS6. I can go that much further with it, and so I can't wait to see how further I can go.
I'm like, if there's ever a time, it was now.
Yeah.
I think the difference between CS5 and CS6 may be like the difference between going to the dentist. Yes, you can get the work done. It may be a little painful versus going to a playground. Right now, it feels like CS6 is really a creative playground because I know that there's going to be some learning to do the 3D and video, but it's not as painful as it was before. It was like, okay, I've got enough within me to be able to jump that hurdle, to be able to play with this, and then get creative. And the thing that's so exciting is creativity builds creativity. As I start to think, oh, I can add this, it gets me thinking about this over here, like you said, and it builds upon itself.
Yeah, just one thing leads to another, yeah.
Yeah,
And so this new version is really a creative version because it's stirring creativity in us with what it can do and how easy it is to go to the next step.
Yeah. Now, that said, the technology makes it really, really good to be able to do that. Speaking of that technology, I know that we have a quick break, so let's go ahead and let's do that break. We'll come back, we'll talk a little bit about the tip. Or actually, you know what? Why not? Why don't you just show it now? Why don't you show it now? Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it. Are you
All
sure?
right.
You sure?
Go ahead,
We've been staring at this image the whole show.
I know, I was going to go to break, but then I'm like, no, I want to see what you're going to do
We're
with
anticipating
it.
it, we got to know.
Okay. Well, in Photoshop CS6, they have the new blur galleries, and you can do field blur, iris blur, and tilt shift blur. And one of the things you think about with tilt shift is to create fake miniature worlds. And as a graphic designer, I was trying to think, how would you incorporate that? It's a cool function, but how would you incorporate that into a design? How could that help the graphic designer if they've got a project? And what I did is I took this image right here, and the first thing you want to think about with fake tilt shift is you're trying to create it almost like it's a toy world. So you always want to bump up your saturation, bright colors, and it needs to be from an elevated angle so it looks like you're looking down on toys. Well, so I took this image and I created a copy of it using Command or Control J to make a duplicate, and then I simply come over to my filter menu, go to blur, and instead of choosing field or iris, I'm going to choose tilt shift. The exact same interface opens for all those, but now it is very easy to create this kind of fake tilt shift world. I'm just going to move my widget to the middle. That's where the main swath of clarity is going to be, and then the lines move out from there to increase blurriness as it moves out. The dotted lines are the boundary to where it gets full blurry from that point on, and these little white lines in the middle represent the transition lines. I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to move that around a little bit, and then I'm just going to hit OK. It's super easy, super fast, and now it's going to process it. And all of a sudden, these boats and ships start to look like a little miniature scene. And the reason why I like this for a graphic designer is oftentimes you want to create a big statement with something. And this allows you to take a picture that was okay, like that, but now it gives it a different look right here, and I can start to add some creative elements to it. And I simply drop in a giant sign and some text, and suddenly I've got a big statement using that to create an ad that's going to catch your eye. And so I knew that I was going to juxtapose the big sign with the little boats, and it's going to catch your eye. And so I think this is a great way that we can use tilt shift, the new blur filters, to create something neat.
It makes blurring that much more of a design element.
Yeah.
You know, more than it ever was, I think.
Right, because now you've got a lot of control. And the thing I was writing about for the new article coming out on Photoshop User magazine is we could do this stuff before, but the transitions, where it transitioned from clear to blur, tended to get little halos, and it looked okay. But the algorithms they got in these blur tools now make it much more natural, and they seem like they may have been taken in camera, and so it's really cool.
That's what I thought was really cool. I'm just looking for it here real quick. I put this picture up on my Google Plus profile, right? So I have this, I made this post on G+. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at gplusrc.com. Right, so just go to gplusrc.com, you can get there. But I have this picture up right here, and I made this article called "This One's for the Wimps," right? And basically talked about just a photography mnemonic that we were using. But I posted this picture, and it used like a tilt shift. And people were like, oh my God, that's such a really cool tilt shift. And I was like, that's a really cool Photoshop tilt shift.
There it is.
So you can go ahead and create some really, really good stuff inside of Photoshop. Let's get into this. Let's get in and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll give you a prize. We'll talk to you about things to watch. We'll show you websites. We'll talk to you about conferences, all of that stuff. Stick around.
Dietary ideas?
Dietary ideas.
Fashion, lighting. I'm obsessed with red. Red is arresting, it's eye-catching. People can go anywhere for beautiful headshots, nice portraits. But what I like to do is give them something a little more. Have a concept. I like to tell a story. As a professional portrait and fashion photographer, I like to take the elements of fashion photography and apply them to my portrait and wedding work. We'll cover locations, props, hair and makeup, just a lot of different elements that you can apply to your work and really stand out from the crowd. Fashion Flair is not ordinary, it's exciting. So come watch my class, Fashion Flair, at kelbytraining.com.
And then you have lettuce
Yes.
on top, and it's all done.
No mayonnaise, though.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody, to PhotoshopUser TV. My name is RC. I'm here with Mr. Corey Barker.
Hello.
I've got Mr. Pete Collins sitting at a weather station.
Hanging out here.
That's right. Dude, I like that. I knew you were going to go. You were going to do the down under thing. I was excited about it. And this is some of the stuff, and we're kind of like very bleary. We're running around, we're like, ha, this is great, this is wonderful. Because we just did all these classes for Kelby Training. So if you take a look at the Kelby Training website, I think we have something like 8 classes on CS6 stuff. So we're like up to the brim.
The fact that we're actually doing stuff on this show is baffling to me because our brains are fried right now.
I think it's cool though. I think it's really, really cool.
We have been fully immersed in CS6 stuff.
Yeah,
and we've got some great classes there. If you want to know more about it, check out Kelby Training.
It's one of those things where it's like it's been there for months. We've been playing with it and toying with it and noodling with it, and now it's like we get to see the fruits of the labor, and we get to. I think that one of the cool parts about this part of the job is you get to finally talk to other people about it. It's not just something that like 4 of us and some communities and things like that. You get to kind of just experiment in private and get really excited about it. Now we get to kind of go out and talk to everybody about it. One of the first places that it would not be, I would be remiss if I did not mention this, is gpluspc.com. The Google Plus for Photographers Conference. If you're watching live, if you haven't thought about it, make sure that you take a look at this. If you're using Google Plus and you're a photographer, this is the best place for you to do some face-to-face time with some of the best people that are on Google Plus. You have photo shoots, you have walks, you have all sorts of different things that you can do, and you can register for all of that right here at this URL, gpluspc.com. Now, there are a lot of you that are watching live, and we really, really appreciate that. So we'll go ahead and we'll run a couple of different things here. We said we're on live. Hilmar Smith wants some love. She wants us to say hi. So hi, Hilmar. Thank you so much for watching. We really, really do appreciate it. We appreciate Gary Monroe watching. We appreciate Mark Rodriguez watching. Brandon Robinson. Take a look at Brandon Robinson right here. We'll go ahead and it looks like he is a photographer, right? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this here. He's from Arlington, Texas. Right, there he is. And let's see, what else do we know about him? And
he likes long walks on the beach.
He's got some pictures. He's got some really pretty pictures. Take a look at this. I have no idea if they're switching.
Hey,
look at that. I think he's been inspired.
Nice.
I think he's been watching some of my stuff.
That's right. I think
that's very nice. Though.
That's
very nice.
Good work.
I love this. This is really cool. But anyway, so he's got some good stuff here. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Are you getting a spike in Photoshop user interaction? Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's like this is your show, right? You guys are coming here to watch. We're happy that you guys are doing so. We want to be able to interact with you. So if you have any questions or concerns or tutorial ideas, or you want to tell us different things, make sure that you take a look at all of these platforms. Make sure that you take a look at my Google+, Corey's Google+, Pete's Google+, Matt, all these people. It's very, very easy to be able to follow all of our Google+.
We're all linked to each other, so if you find one of us, you're bound to find all of us.
No, we made it very easy. It was just like mine is RCG+, RCGPLUS.com.
Corey G+.
Corey G+.
Pete G+.
Pete G+, Matt G+, Scott G+. So if you know one, you can know them all.
Yeah.
Now, contest time. What do we have for a contest?
Contest, we have a couple of books. It's good that you mentioned the Google Plus conference because we have here a book by Colby Brown, Google Plus for Photographers.
Nice. Very, very cool.
Up to speed
we like Colby Brown.
Definitely want to get up to speed getting Google Plus. And we gave away this on the last show, but it's so good we had to give it away again this one. It's the iPad for photographers.
Nice.
This is, I haven't had a chance to look at it myself. Matt is raving about it. He loves this book. So it's really just kind of a simple read on how to really leverage your iPad if you're a photographer. You really want to show your work off. Definitely the book to check out. So we'll give away those two.
I tell people all the time, my iPad, I have the iPad 3 now. We have iPads at home. I have one, my wife has one, my daughter has one. You know how all of those happened? By having one iPad and using that iPad to leverage to get jobs. And then taking those jobs and making money to buy more iPads.
There you have it. Yeah.
So it's like, so for me, it's like when I go out and I grab one and I have one, a lot of the times I tell people, this is a tool. This tool has gotten me access to so many different places. So make sure you take a look at that. Thank you so much to the folks at peachpit.com For the
now
prizes.
we need to tell them how they can win those books. Now,
How do they do that?
they're going to go to kelbytv.com and go to PhotoshopUser TV. You're going to find the link for the episode. Go down there, leave a comment. You can leave a comment, tell us a joke, tell us what you'd like to see, any questions you might have. What color shoes Pete wears daily? Anything like that? No. No, like as RC said, this is your show. We want to know what you want to see. So we definitely want some feedback, and there's it. There we go, right there. So there's Pete's shoes. All right. Again, remember, this is your show, so we definitely want to know what you want to see, what we haven't seen. We've got a lot of really exciting CS6 stuff coming down the line.
Oh, here, I got to show you a couple of things before we go. Because we
no.
just posted that thing where we talked about you guys, and this is what we want to see going forward through the season. So we talked a little bit about some people here. So we said, hi, can we submit comments to our See to Perform Live? No, 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 you can't.
You don't
he
want
said
that.
my name. Brandon was actually watching, and he said, look at this. So he says, wow, you guys rock.
Yeah.
And
Actually, he said we'd rock.
He said, rock. So I don't know why we can't see that, but we can't see that. So I'm a UI developer designer, is what Brandon is telling us. And then we're going to point to this other person, Amber Osborne, right? If there's somebody that you kind of want to follow, I think this person's really, really cool. Right? So she's another person that we can talk to. Oh, I know what's happening. We're not going to the chats because we're afraid of salacious comments. So we have to be very, very careful about that.
Oh, yes. We are live.
Yeah, if you're going to say something,
Yes,
if you're going to say
yes.
something, you can't be like snarky because then anything offensive, don't worry about it. It's a long story. But anyway, that's pretty much about it. I think
That does wrap it up for today. Yes, absolutely. So we want to thank everybody for joining us. Be sure to tune us next week. We'll be
In a
live.
couple weeks, yeah.
In a couple weeks, we'll be live yet again, and we'll be joined by, hopefully, we'll have the rest of the guys here. Scott will be. People might be wondering, where is Scott?
Yeah.
Right at this very moment, Scott is out of the country.
I'm not wondering at all. I know exactly where he is.
Scott is out of the country. We're not going to say where
got a
because he's
brewer.
working on something very, very special and secret. And we know everybody's going to be thrilled about what he's out of the country working on right now. So it's going to be something coming up very soon, and we know everybody's going to be really thrilled about it. So he'll probably be back here in the next couple weeks, so we'll look for him soon. But everybody, thanks for joining us. Thanks again to RC.
Yep.
Thank you
so
for
much,
having
guys.
me. And, of course, Pete Collins.
Yep.
Always
Hey,
a
don't
pleasure.
forget, we need to start gearing up for Photoshop World in Vegas.
Yeah.
Photoshop World in Vegas.
Indeed,
That's it.
indeed.
That's
That
it.
is, in
That's it.
fact, on my screen. Good point. We've got Photoshop World coming up in Vegas here, September 5th through the 7th. Now, September is a ways off, but if you're planning on going, now's the time to start thinking about planning because you've got hotels and all those different things to think about. And if you've never been, definitely look at the website and see who all is going to be there. It is a who's who of Photoshop and photography. It's definitely the place to be if you're going to learn about photography or Photoshop at all. So
Nice.
be sure to join us there, and thank you again. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye.
Take care.